What is up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Guys, got a new video. Somebody recommended me how the Dutch keep surprising me. This is from a girl named Caseykilmore, I believe. I hope I didn't get that name wrong. It was Stacy or Casey, but I'm about to check this out. So y'all hit that subscribe button, send down a recommendation. And let's see how the Dutch keep surprising her, you know.
This video is sponsored by Skillshare. So yes, I have been living in the Netherlands for longer than 2 years now.
It's Caseykilmore. Sorry, I didn't mean to mess up your name. I had to correct.
And I still have very vivid moments when I'm cycling along, whether that's to go to work or the train station or whatever it is. I'm out on my bike. And I have these I can't believe I'm cycling on a bike in the Netherlands because this is where I live. It's so weird. And there are so many culture differences still that I find every single day when I'm talking to Dutch people, when I'm talking to other expats, when I'm talking to my family back at home and I have to say something on the phone and they're like, what? The Netherlands? This is another list of all of those things that I still find sometimes very confusing, sometimes completely strange, but nonetheless, very, very Dutch. So here it is.
Okay. Pretty well put together video.
This first one is different if you don't live in a city. I have only lived in cities while I've been here in the Netherlands. I first lived in Amsterdam and now we live in Den Haag. We did stay for a little time in Huizen because that's where my partner's parents live. So there was a very small interval where we lived in a village. In the cities in the Netherlands, there are no bin days. Now, if you watch a lot of these sorts of videos, you will know that Not Just Bikes also made a video about the Netherlands not having any bin days. And I will link his video that's had over 1 million.
I actually seen that and I liked that idea, like not having those and you can just, it was like, I don't know. It was kind of, I wouldn't say it was, I guess it would be weird I guess it would be weird. Never mind. It might just be weird to people that don't know and don't understand, you know. After watching the video, I kind of understood. I thought it was pretty clever. I thought it was much needed. I thought we could use it around here.
The Netherlands not having any bin days, and I will link his video that's had over 1 million views down below. However, I found this also really strange. My family would ask me, or like, how does the rubbish service work in the Netherlands and how do the big trucks move around all of these small streets? They don't have to go to every house because there's a collection point that you take your rubbish to.
I think that's pretty, I like the idea, you know. I think that's pretty good. It saves a lot of time, you know, because I ain't gonna lie, and I probably said this in the video when I did that video. Hey, the trash, they be getting my trash can and just be tossing it everywhere, you know. If you just gonna toss it everywhere, y'all might as well just have your own stuff that we can just go walk down and throw. They just be tossing my trash can everywhere. Then to the point, I hit my trash can pulling out the driveway one time. It's crazy, it's crazy.
Collection point that you take your rubbish to. And this makes so much sense to me. I love that this is a feature of Dutch cities. It is so incredibly efficient. And being able to take your rubbish whenever it's full to a collection point, they're usually very, very close to your house. They have them located all over the city. So it's easy, it's fast, it's quick, it's efficient. I don't have to think about it once it's out of my house. So this is my number one kind of semi-weird thing because Australian cities very much still do have rubbish collection days. My number two thing is that the Netherlands, and I don't know if this is just a city thing or this is also prevalent in Dutch villages. I can't really seem to find a dedicated post office. My mum recently sent a package to me and it got lost. She sent it to another number, a combination of my numbers, but it wasn't this house. And she said, just go to the post office and see if it's been dropped off there. And I said, Mum, we don't really have post offices. And she said, well then where does your post go? So in the Netherlands, post offices are like collection points. So they also double as just a normal store. They're usually newsagents or they can be like little deli places. Sometimes they sell food. They're like these random places that you go.
Which makes sense because like we have post office, but like if you ship through like UPS and I want to say like FedEx and stuff, like there's other places like we have certain stores that you can still go pick up like packages and stuff, which makes sense. But I probably couldn't go to a restaurant and pick up some mail though. I probably couldn't.
Little deli places. Sometimes they sell food. They're like these random places that you go to either collect your post or you drop post off. But it's not a dedicated post office. At least I've never come across any. If this is a thing in Dutch cities and it's different in villages, let me know in the comments below. But as far as I can tell, there's no Dutch post offices. One thing I had to get used to when working and living here in the Netherlands was that everything comes in monthly cycles. Now, this might not be only Dutch specific. I think there are quite a few countries that run on a monthly cycle. So you pay your bills monthly, you get paid monthly, insurance is monthly, rent is monthly. All of these things come in monthly lots. In Australia, most places actually pay weekly. And when you're looking for rental houses and things like that, the cost is per week usually. So even if you were to pay monthly, if you had organized that with your realtor, you would still be comparing houses and comparing prices based on a weekly rate because
it still adds up to the monthly. But I didn't know that, so I get to know a little bit about the Netherlands, a little bit more about the Netherlands and Australia a little bit. But I think that's pretty cool though. Weekly, I think paying bills weekly wouldn't be bad if you got paid weekly, because I know certain jobs down here you can get paid weekly. Then some jobs, like my job, like when I was working, it was like every 2 weeks. Then I know some jobs they just pay you once a month, you know, for that month.
Comparing
like
houses and comparing prices based on a weekly rate, because that's how much people get paid. So you can quickly calculate how much of my pay is going directly to rent. Here you get a big lump sum and then it feels like you have a lot of money and then all of your bills come out all at the same time and then there's not that much left over. So getting used to everything coming in at the same time and being on this monthly cycle was a little bit of an adjustment, but I kind of prefer it. It makes so much more sense to me now. And when I calculate things or when I'm talking about money back in Australia, I have to remember that when people say, how much do you pay for rent in The Hague, I have to tell my Australian friends what it would work out to be at a weekly rate so that they can mentally process it. Now, this next one hasn't thankfully happened to me yet. But in the Netherlands, you can be invited to a wedding for separate parts of the wedding. So say you're invited to a wedding, it will specify on your invitation if you're invited to all the separate parts of the wedding or if you're only invited to, say, the ceremony in the church, you're not invited to dinner, and then you can come back and party later. So essentially you have to go somewhere, eat somewhere else, and then come back to celebrate. Now I feel like this seems really classical Dutch because it is obviously done in a way to save money. But in my head, why would I invite someone to watch me get married that I wouldn't even like pay for their meal? Like, why are they even invited in the first place? Just have a small wedding. You don't have to invite lots of people.
That's true. That is true. Just have a small wedding, but pretty clever.
In the first place, just have a small wedding. You don't have to invite lots of people and then invite half of them from a meal and then invite the other half back again to have a big party. Just either have a small wedding or invite everyone to have a meal. It just like seems really strange that you would separate it out and have different guest lists for the different parts of your wedding.
That's a lot more work too.
I find it actually a bit rude, if I'm honest. And I could never imagine doing it myself. And again, thankfully it's not happened to me yet, but I don't know. I don't know if I would even really feel like participating at all. It kind of feels like maybe you were an afterthought. That you're you're like a half guest.
Good.
Yeah. I don't know if this is changing with the times or if it's becoming more prevalent. Let me know in the comments below. Have you ever been invited to a wedding and then told to go and eat elsewhere and then come back later? How do you guys feel about this? Whether you're an expat, whether you're a Dutch native, is this normal? Do lots of people do this? Being on the subject.
Hey, y'all let me know as well, because I think that's pretty interesting, pretty clever. It could save a lot of money, but it seems like it'll be a lot more work, letting people know, hey, you can come at 2, but don't come at 3. But come back at 5. That's a lot of work, Then they popping up. That's a lot. That's
Dutch
a lot,
native. Is this normal? Do
like
lots of people do this? Being on the subject of celebrations, this one is more to do with birthdays. So birthdays in the Netherlands, I always feel like everyone's very present focused. So you are the host and you throw a party, which means you supply food and drinks. But then everyone's kind of obliged to bring a present. I feel stressed. I don't think this is in Australian culture. You just go along for a drink and the present is your presence. You are coming to help them celebrate, but I don't think you're obliged to bring a gift unless it's a really, really good friend. I have received gifts from people that have been completely unexpected. And I think it's just in Dutch culture. It's someone's birthday, you give them a present. Yeah, and this just does not correlate with my brain sometimes.
We do that too. Like if it's a family member or something, or say for instance, my son in school, if he have a friend that invite him to a birthday, we feel obligated to go get a gift because they didn't have to invite us. So we kind of do the same thing here. At least I can only speak for myself really, but other than that, I think the present, excuse me, I don't like, usually talk about race, but the black community, hold up. The black community, especially when we have gatherings to eat, I'm telling you, most people, especially, I'm speaking on my family, I'm not talking about all, but if my African American people can relate, most people bring their appetite. They don't even bring a food, everybody bring a meal or something. When it's a big gathering to eat, most people are bringing their appetite. That's what they bring. They don't bring no food, at least bring inside of mashed potatoes, some macaroni. No, they bringing their appetite, eating up all the food type thing. That's my little tip. I didn't, that's just how it is. That's what I've seen.
And this just does not correlate with my brain sometimes, and I am very notorious for forgetting a gift. But at the same time, I think, do we really still have to be buying presents for 30-year-olds? I feel like gifts for birthdays is something you do for children because it's fun and it's nice, but we're all adults now, so it seems unnecessary. Now, being the birthday person, it's your responsibility to bring the cake. So I feel like bringing the cake gets you presents, if that's how this exchange is meant to be working. But I feel like in Australian culture, it's my birthday. I want other people to organize the cake. I know my partner has fond memories of being at primary school and bringing snacks and things on his birthday and having to outdo other kids with better snacks and things like that. So it's very much in the culture that you traktier. Is that how you say, it's your shout?
I feel like that's different though. Usually, if it's somebody's birthday, if it's a family member birthday for me at least, we might get them a cake or something. But she mentioned school, when you're in school, if it's your birthday, you send your kid some cupcakes, or you bring him a cake or something, or her a cake or something like that to share with the whole class, let them know it's your birthday. But usually you'll buy somebody else a cake, something like that.
Shout everyone snacks and cake because it's your birthday. So that is something that I'm not really used to. And I guess we're going to have to do it when our daughter starts going to school. So organizing snacks and things for a birthday. But yes, that is another strange thing about Dutch culture that I tend to forget all the time. Before we get on to the rest of the list, I want to give a shout out to the platform I use it. So I've used Photoshop. So to my one class that's been work crazy, come to get a time class, know that are for Skillshare. and you guys can start exploring your is when you're looking for work in the Netherlands. In Australia, you have casual, part-time, and full-time. So casual is like the equivalent of a 0-hour contract here in the Netherlands, and then part-time is part-time and full-time is full-time. In the Netherlands, they work on temporary contracts and permanent contracts.
Wow.
I am yet to be offered a job that is a straight up permanent contract. Here in the Netherlands, a worker, just as a renter, has a lot of legal rights. So once you're signed on with permanent contract, it is really, really hard to fire you or get rid of you. So there is a culture here that has developed, whether that's just over the years and mistrust or people abusing that system, where no one offers you a permanent contract. This affects your ability to apply for a hypothek, a mortgage. So you're not able to rent as much. It affects all of these financial things that you had no idea it would affect. And I think since COVID happening, maybe there's less trust in the permanent and temporary contract system. But I find this really, really strange that you almost have less legs to stand on if you don't have a permanent contract at work.
That's pretty interesting because I know most times, like say for me and my wife, when we were buying our house, we at least had to be at our job for at least 2 years. Like, that's just how the process worked down here. I don't think it's usually just part-time or full-time, nothing, I don't think permanent or anything like that, because some people don't have a problem with letting you go, but usually if you got a good job doing, like, it's really going to be your choice to stay or leave the company. But in order to buy a house, for sure, you need at least 2 years, be at your job 2 years and show like your pay history, like your payment history and stuff like that, or what you're getting paid. But it's a long process though. It took us forever. It seemed like it's
also in the working theme. My friends and family are always incredibly surprised when they realize that all of your work leave, so your holidays and vacation, is in your contract for the year time. You don't need to build this time up like you do in Australia. So in Australia, to be able to take holidays, you have to have worked X amount of time to have actually built up that extra time. So in the Netherlands, your maternity leave is the same. You are entitled to take your maternity leave literally from day one if you needed to. In Australia, again, you need to work for a company for at least 12 months before this maternity leave kicks in. Sick time is the same. You don't need to build up your sick time here in the Netherlands. You just get given time off if you're sick, and there isn't a limit to this. I think in Australia, on average, you get about 10 sick days a year. I was incredibly sick with my pregnancy, and I needed obviously more than 10 days. I was completely bedridden and was unable to move. The fact that I didn't have to build up this sick time meant that I was able to stay. I was able to go to all of my hospital visits. I was being monitored by a nurse at home. So just the healthcare system and knowing that I was financially supported while I was sick was amazing.
And that is great, because I know there are some jobs, like my last job, like they went away with like the sick days and all. It was just straight PTO, paid time off. But we had to work. We got a certain amount after a month. Every month we get a certain amount. But it didn't kick in till after like 3 months you was on that job, or 6 months or something like that. I think it was 3 months. I want to say 3 months, because most time they just gonna see if people gonna stay. So if you stay, that's probably why, like, some jobs, especially here in the States, most jobs, they wait till like after a year, because they just want to see if people gonna stay before they give them their benefits, which I feel like is not right at all. Like, people should get benefits right away, because you just never know. You know, it might be somebody that like working in the company and they might get sick or something might happen in the family. So, but I know during COVID, they start giving people extra time. But after that time ran up, you pretty much had, like, they let you stay home and stuff, but you had to stay home without pay. So I feel like that's kind of messed up, because like once you use all your time, now you might have to spend an extra 2 weeks without getting paid, depending on how serious it is. So dang, shout out to the Dutch. Like that's good. Y'all take care of y'all peoples, taking care of your peoples.
If that situation had have happened in Australia, I would have lost my job and had to have gone straight onto benefits and struggled to pay rent and buy food. So the fact that all of these things are tied up in your job straight away is a massive, massive bonus. And I love that I'm in this system. I'm so used to the idea now that thinking back to how Australia works out its sick leave and holiday pay and all of that stuff just seems so backwards and so crazy that, yes, very glad that this is a plus point for the Netherlands. The other thing that we have here in the Netherlands that isn't in Australia is compulsory health insurance. So everyone has to pay health insurance. If you're a student or if you're on benefits, you also get a subsidy from the government, but you still have to put that money towards your health insurance. It is compulsory. There is no negotiations. You can obviously offer to have higher cover, but base rate cover is about 120-ish euros a month. And that just goes without saying. That's what you have to pay. Yeah. There's also an excess on top of that. So I think it's up to like 368 euros is excess. Wow. What am I saying? I just made that number up. In Australia, there is no compulsory private health insurance. You have public health and private health. Public health basically covers everyone, and that comes from taxes and Medicare and things like that, and private health is what you would opt to pay on top of that. When I was living in Australia, I never really truly saw the benefits in paying for private health, but seeing that my money actually goes to something, and every time that I go to the doctor, it is free, most medications are covered, and especially after what had happened with the pregnancy, that how well I was looked after and how little out of pocket I had to pay because I was already paying health insurance was incredible. So I highly regard the Dutch healthcare system. I love it. I feel like looking back on this list, they all seem to be things that the Netherlands actually does better than Australia, except for that weird always having to bring a present thing. I don't know if I'm about that just yet. But these are some of the things that I still find I'm getting used to or still coming up against and thinking, yeah, that's not how we do things in Australia. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
That was nice. I feel like definitely can relate the trash can thing. I thought when I seen it on Not Just Bite, I thought it was pretty clever. I thought it was a good idea, because it make it so convenient for people. And then just the paid and sick time off, the time off in general, like, to me, that's a major thing. That's a major thing because people really need it. People really need their benefits and stuff. But it's sad that you don't get compensated or looked after. People can be doing good, and one day something could happen, and not only them going through something sickly, now they're going through something financially because the job's not backing them, So it really do pays where you work. I can't say all jobs are like that, but then again, it seemed like you have to work in order to get that time. Like you train it in time for money, money for time type thing. But it's just crazy. It's crazy. But definitely I subscribe to Miss Caseykilmore. Y'all make sure y'all do as well. She gave some good information and got to learn a little bit about Australia as well. So I think that's pretty dope. Maybe I can check out some more videos about Australia. She got a question from the Dutch when they find out I'm Australian. So I think that's pretty cool. But guys, that's all I have for this video. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Send down those recommendations. But hey, I can definitely the present thing, I think that's different. But like she said, some people just bring their presents, and that's the present. Hey, like I said, my community, they bring their appetite when it's time to have a big gathering to eat. Some people just bring their appetite, man. Bring some biscuits, bring some rolls or something, That's something else. But hey, I appreciate y'all. Y'all be blessed, be the best, and be you. I'm out.